like I said, my background to me right now is spelled backwards. But if I mirror
So
it,
my background, how does my background show up for you?
for me, the bicycle's going to the left, and like your head right now is cocked a little bit to your left, my right.
But can you read Bianchi normally, or is
Uh-huh.
Bianchi spelled
I can
backwards
read it.
right now?
I couldn't say that, but I can read it. You call me a honky?
Bianchi.
Bianchi?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's
Well, so real quick, I think introductions are important. This is the Open Drive. I'm Jason as usual, Jason Kucera. My name's not Jason as usual. It's just Jason Kucera. And then
Thanks for that
speaking here
clarification.
with who I think you were my first guest on the podcast too. The original podcast I was doing started
I think
last
so.
year.
Yeah.
Anthony Gavlik, who is my cousin, he's a extraordinary engineer and
Oh wait, you
designing
got the
all
wrong guy. You got the wrong guy.
he's designing all the futuristic modal concepts in Austin. I just used whatever word I could come up with that you would possibly use. So anyway,
Those are good words.
thanks for jumping on with me tonight. You're really my first guest too of the video cast. Like Friday, I did a live chat, but that was just for fun and
Hmm.
a long talk. But I'm trying to transfer a lot of this my podcast to video and rip the audio and put it on the original. So I just wanted to try it out and catch up with you and talk about some cool stuff,
Okay.
whatever's going on.
I
So what's
think
up, man?
I like these trends. I like how I was the first on the podcast. Now I'm the first on the video recorded version of the podcast.
Yeah,
I want to be the first person in your cars and coffee version.
yeah. Well,
We can go cruising in my car
your car,
and
yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Not
So
my Pico
what
boost.
would we call it? So Jerry Seinfeld has comedians in
Comedians,
cars getting coffee.
yeah.
What would yours
And
be?
there's what is that? What is that event that shows up on Facebook sometimes? Something like, is it Cars and Coffee?
Yeah, those are just like car meets. It's just those are pretty common, like across the country. It's just like cars and coffee. They're just
Cruising in
car meets.
cars with coffee?
Do
Could
what?
we almost rip Jerry Seinfeld off entirely and just say cruising in cars with coffee, or
No, I think you need to do
cruising
something like
without comedians,
more unique.
cruising with guys who try to be funny but aren't very funny whatsoever, but like drinking
Ku-
coffee out of mugs they
Ku-
bought themselves. Oh man,
Kucera with cars and coffee. I don't know.
see that's my mug that says "World's Greatest Dad," and it's
I
mine.
can see it.
Keeps disappearing in
Yeah,
the background,
your
but
mug behind your mug. I
it's
see
like
that.
the World's Greatest Boss mug. That's what I compare it. Awesome.
Oh, you know what, dude? I actually have I have a similar thing here on my desk. You can't see it very well.
Say world's best engineer. Totally the best ever. That's
Totally the
cool. I like
best
the
dad ever.
double hooks there. That's pretty rad, man.
Yeah, it's like spill proof, so I can drink it with two hands.
Well, now that
Yeah.
you've been in Austin for so long, you got to really drink it with the horns, right?
No.
There's do you ever run into Matthew McConaughey? And
Well, I do actually. He and I just had coffee the other
it was
morning.
it was
Yeah.
guys
It
riding
was
in cars.
it was McConaughey with cars and coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude's got a crazy car collection.
Oh,
They're,
dude.
they're all they're all Lincolns though.
Yeah. He's
That
always
was
picking
really
them up.
weird.
Like, yeah, man. So, not to totally, well, we'll just go wherever, but I watched Interstellar again recently. I think the first time I watched it was like, I know I didn't see it in the movies. So it was like when it first came out on DVD or digits or whatever. And then I watched it again recently. Have you ever seen Interstellar?
I have no idea what that is. I,
Yeah.
I live under a rock, honestly.
Well, okay, so I'll just give you the premise is that it's a little bit in the future, and McConaughey's in this. That's why I brought it up. But it's a little
Okay.
bit in the future, and our planet is kind of fucked. It's kind of done where a lot of people are just farming, trying to sustain livelihood, food, whatever. People are almost chosen in school what they're going to do in the future. Like you're bright enough to go to school, and that's the direction we're going to send you. You're not bright enough to go to school. You're going to be a farmer because we need farmers. The world
So it
has to
sounds
be.
like our current times then, basically.
And there's so many parallels that come out from Hollywood, and people will complain. They're like, "Oh, it's all comic, man." I'm like, kind of. They're telling a story, but so McConaughey apparently used to fly for NASA or something like that, and he ends up being selected again to go on this long-term mission way to the outer galaxy where they're hoping to discover a new Earth, essentially, right?
Mm,
Um, like all cool space movies, everything goes wrong. They're out there
yeah.
for a long time, and he ends up going through this crazy dimension parallel thing. I don't want to ruin it because you should really watch it. It's pretty good. Um, but there's this part of it that doesn't make sense because it's like this time, like repetitiveness. Um, uh, Things are like mirrored with time going. God, it's hard to explain, man. It's basically that your future self is talking to your current self, but how did your future self ever get there to come back and talk to your current self? At some point you have to go through the door, but if you come
Yeah.
back and you're talking to your past now, you're going to
Yeah.
change that principle, right? And if your future self is like, hey man, don't go through the door, well then you don't go through the door. Well, that future self has to disappear, man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
When you get in the time space continuum thing, it'll murder your head, man. Imagine having that conversation with the president.
So
Sorry. He's very educated, though.
that sounds like the best movie ever. The
It's
best.
the best movie
It's
ever.
the greatest.
Everybody says so.
What's it called again?
Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Yeah, you have to throw it
Okay.
down. It's a McConaughey. I mean, he's in. I don't know if I've ever seen a bad McConaughey movie. Maybe I think it's him with Goldie Hawn's daughter, whatever her name is. But she, it's like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or something like that. And I think McConaughey's the play. I think that it's a rom com. That's probably the worst movie I think he's been in. But he still makes it
Yeah.
good. He's McConaughey and he's sexy as fuck. I wish I was that
I
sexy,
I
dude.
I live under a rock, dude. I just
Well, so speaking of rocks, and you busting them, what kind of projects are you currently working on that you could talk about, that's making Austin great again?
so some good news. One of the big projects that I personally have not yet worked on, but I hope to soon. But my firm is working on. My boss is actually the project manager for this particular project. It's Project Connect for Cap Metro, which is Capital Metro is the transit agency here in Austin,
Hmm.
and they are Capital Metro. Or I mean, Project Connect is like their the revisioning of their comprehensive plan. They're kind of revisioning, redesigning, and rebuilding their complete transit network, including adding new facilities like light rail. And part of the light rail system, there's some pretty cool concepts that are proposed. One of them is like a large underground tunnel network underneath that's it's going to connect. It's going a light rail line that goes directly from the airport to downtown,
Wow.
and of course from the airport up to Town Lake, it's all surface level stuff. But then as it approaches the lake, it'll go underground across the lake as opposed to a bridge.
Holy shit.
Actually, I
It's gonna
take
be
that back.
massive, dude. That's like the big dig, man.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So, anyways, I'm getting the details all botched up here because I've not been working on the project myself.
It
These
sounds
are
good
like
enough.
these are like third hand
I'm
details I'm
sold.
giving. Anyways, the
Yeah.
point I wanted to make was that both the Capital Metro Board and the City Council of Austin unanimously approved the the bond. I'm forgetting the terminology. They basically approved the package to be put forth for referendum in November. So this November, the bond package to fund Project Connect and all these projects associated with it are going to be put on the ballot
Okay.
to be approved by the state of Austin. So hopefully, people here in Austin want a new, efficient, useful, productive, sustainable transit system, and we'll check the yes box, and we'll start designing and building some really cool transit stuff for the state of Austin.
I wonder when they're in Houston, when they built some of these underground tunnels downtown and they turned into the shopping districts, I believe.
Hmm.
I wonder if there's ever an intention to expand that and build subways in Houston, or if they just realized there was no possible way because of the bayous and
Yeah,
the kind of
so
issue.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know anything about the tunnel systems in Houston. In fact, I've always been intrigued by it. I've always thought, like, man, that is so cool. There's a network of
Yeah, when you
tunnels
learn it, you're like,
underneath the all these buildings in downtown. I need to go check it out. I've yet to go check it out. I want to.
I always
Um,
forget every time I'm there.
so
I never think about it.
I mean, other than that, knowing they're there, I don't know anything about them. I don't know what the impetus was. I don't know who built them, why they were built. I just would assume they were built for connectivity between the buildings, so
Yeah,
you
rich oil
would
guys, man. So they get
you,
together and
you
play
wouldn't have to
cards and
like
stuff.
walk in the
And the heat,
in
yeah,
Houston heat.
Houston
You could
heat.
just walk in air conditioned tunnels. I would assume. I would also assume that there are groundwater issues in the bayous that would make it prohibitive to build. This is telling me my internet connection is unstable. Do I look unstable?
You're all
I
right.
mean,
It's a
okay. I'm
little.
pretty unstable, but visually, am I unstable?
That's all right. It's breaking up a little tiny bit, but it's coming back.
Okay.
So it might. As a matter of fact, I think it just cleared up a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
I would assume that like a subway system for Houston is not feasible
Yeah,
just
I
because groundwater issues.
and they're building
Although,
like a little bit of
have you
train systems above, but not.
have you heard about the underground cistern in Houston?
I
Uh,
remember reading shortly after Harvey that they tried to build something under the Katy Freeway under I-10 whenever they had
mhm.
apparently expanded it in the 80s. And the Harris County judge at the time, whose name was probably, Dickwad Jones, turned it down. Something like that.
Yeah,
I
those
remember reading
Joneses.
about that. Something like that, and I was like,
So this cistern that I'm aware of was built like in
by
the
the Romans.
30s or 40s, I think, and it's near downtown.
Okay.
And it was meant to be an underground water storage facility. It's no longer in use, but it's no longer in use as a cistern. But I think after decades of sitting empty and vacant, they whoever they is, I don't know if it's the city or the county or some other
Yeah.
entity, someone realized, man, this is a cool place. We could open it up to the public for
Clubs,
tours or whatever. And so apparently you can go like check it out now. It's like it's open for touring.
but
So
not possible to put into use again.
I don't know.
Or
I'm
maybe
not
like the
sure.
water runoff, you'd think, but
I don't think it was a stormwater
they
issue.
didn't have flooding
It
issues
was it,
probably then because they didn't have
yeah. They didn't
concrete
pave
paradise
everything.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, now you see they build these what are they, containment pools?
Detention ponds, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you're here. See, but I guess they're building those everywhere now. But like, does it make that big of a difference?
It can, and you can't just like slap them anywhere. Let's say I have a piece of property that's like near the river, near the bayou, near whatever the downstream end is of your drainage system. I wouldn't want to build a detention pond there because that would just make the flooding worse. So like the point of the detention pond is to detain the water, not retain it, but detain it, meaning it lets it go slowly or lets it go later, right?
Okay.
So if I'm on the downstream end of a watershed, or we're getting technical here, I don't know if this is the
Well, no,
direction we
but
wanted to go.
because a good point that you just made is that a lot of people call them retention ponds, and so clarifying that it's not technically a retention pond, I think is probably really important.
Yeah.
If
There
somebody's
there
watching
are
this that
there
didn't
are
learn something,
retention ponds. There
no,
are
fuck
some
retention
retention
ponds.
ponds,
We
but
don't want retention ponds.
most of them are detention ponds. So
Yeah. No,
so
I think
so so
that's probably a really good point.
but if I'm on the downstream end of a bed, all the water from that watershed is not going to get to that point immediately. It's going to get there later, right?
Mhm.
So I wouldn't want to release my water later when it clashes with all the water that's coming to me later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just going to exacerbate this, just going to make it worse. So, anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, you like so many cities have like said, well, we have flooding issues. Let's just put detention ponds everywhere. You can't just globally apply detention to everything, and it depends on where you're at in the watershed. So you have to look at where you're out, where you are, and what kind of topography you're on, what kind of land you're on, where you're at in the watershed. All that stuff
Yeah.
plays into what kind of drainage design you have.
But so there in Austin, in the vicinity, I guess things probably work a lot better too because of for one, you have more hills, which can
Relief,
create a
yeah.
lot of runoff, right? But then
Mhm.
also the sediment that's underground there, you have what more just stone, caliche, things like that, which help
Yeah.
water move into the earth. Is that right?
Yeah, infiltration.
After science.
Yeah, it's weird. 35 is
There
like
you go.
a pretty good divider. Like everything west of 35, generally speaking, is pretty granular soil.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of rock, not a whole lot of fat clays, and then everything east of 35 is like super thick clays, fat clays
Weird.
that do it.
Is that what like why? How's that work out? Did they build
That's
a
just
continental divide?
I think that's just a natural change in the geology. And I mean, I wasn't around when they built 35, so I don't know if it was coincidental that they built it along that divide or if there was like an intention to it. But
Some
anyways,
folks
so
really would.
like where I live west of 35. Water infiltrates pretty good, but there's a lot of flash flooding here. Like
Yeah.
if you have a lot of rain over several weeks and the ground is pretty wet, a lot of the lower lying areas apparently can flood pretty quickly. I've not experienced it yet. I haven't been here long
Yeah,
enough.
when I lived up that way, well, I was about almost an hour north, I guess, and in a really hilly area. We'd get a heavy rain, and it would be instantaneous almost that you'd have small rivers running everywhere. And I
Hmm.
had a really large creek in behind my home, and I could hear eventually after like 2 or 3 hours of heavy rain, you could start hearing it rushing through, which was kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah,
And I felt good about it because that was there, and I felt kind of protected, and my land wasn't going to flood
yeah,
unless that filled up. And if that filled up, then I was shit out of luck, and it didn't matter. It was a two-story. I felt okay.
yeah.
But I think that's interesting. And then so like whenever people are when you're building, or for example like tunneling, is it safer or more cost effective when the ground is has more like stone and rock and things like that?
Yeah,
Stable. I don't know.
yeah. Apparently, again, I'm not a tunnel expert. I'm not a geotech expert. I don't know what you would call me.
What kind of expert? You said a geotech?
Geotech. So yeah, geotechs play with dirt. Um,
Oh, oh man, my kid's gonna be on. That's cool. He's a genius.
so, but apparently, the my boss, who's the project manager on this Project Connect
Okay.
project, was saying that the limestone that we have underneath downtown Austin is like the optimal soil condition or rock condition for tunneling because it's stone, so it's hard enough to be stable and maintain shape, but it's also soft enough that it's relatively easy to tunnel through. That's my understanding.
That's pretty cool. That's why Elon Musk wants to move there, right?
Dude, they're
Gotta hurry up.
I
I gotta hurry up. I gotta hurry up. Right
do
before
it.
I gotta hurry up and get up there, man. Before everything's
Yes,
gone.
you do. Yes, you do. You need to get up here ASAP. And Apple's building a
Yeah,
huge campus that's going to add like 7,000 some people. I don't know, some huge number of people just
and I'm an
south
Apple
of
guy. That should get me in the door.
like 3 miles south of my house. So
Really, God. And
yeah,
well, and something I think it's important to point out with Austin is despite the fact of everybody that doesn't live in Austin who are conservatives or something and they complain about Austin, is it's the way it's growing. To me, it seems like it's the plans being put in place are really well thought. If that makes, like, they started building train systems to go out to the suburbs and um, working on freeways pretty quickly. I don't know. It just seems like the growth spike in Austin in the last 10, 12 years, it just seems like they really started to try to either keep up or get ahead of the curve a little bit.
I think yeah. I think there's been a lot of effort over the last 10 to 15 years to do just that, to get ahead and to plan for the future. Obviously, I've not been around Austin that long, but from what I understand, historically, Austin was like reluctant to accept growth. They didn't want to grow.
Keep it weird, man.
And exactly. And
That's
so
gone. That's gone.
well, from what I understand, from what I've been told, they like intentionally under-designed or intentionally neglected to design systems that could accommodate future growth. And but the growth came anyways, and that put the city in a real bad pinch. Just like their freeways, their roads, like all their public infrastructure was like crazy overburdened.
Yeah.
And so they finally were like, man, the growth is happening, more growth is forecasted, we better do something. And so for the last 10, 15 years, they've been doing just that. So yeah, they've been, from my vantage point, it seems like the powers that be, um, the owners of the public infrastructure around here have done a pretty good job at trying to make accommodations for future growth. Like even
Yeah.
Williamson County, Williamson County is the county that's directly north of Travis County. Like, so my home address is in the city of Austin, but I live in Williamson County. Williamson County, I think, is the fastest growing county, if not the second fastest growing county in the state. Historically has been like, I don't know how you would describe it. Not rural per se, but has had just like the small town feel with like Round Rock and Georgetown, like these smaller towns that were more quaint, right? But it's growing so fast, like everybody's moving to Round Rock and Cedar Park and Georgetown. And so the county is actually being very proactive in planning future corridors to help accommodate all this growth. So yeah, a lot of people around here planning and designing and building for the future is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's a trip to me. If I can remember the road, the one where IKEA is off the 35, and you go west, is that 1492 or something like that?
1491.
1491.
Yeah.
It seems like just 10 years ago, it was very barren, and the growth along that stretch of road is mind-boggling, dude. I remember the cafe that has the caboose or little railroad track behind it. I don't remember the name of it. I think it's just 1491 Cafe, something like that. It's encompassed by shopping centers now.
It's in Cedar Park. Yeah.
And it just had a couple of things around it. It was hardly anything. And then the last time there, it's just
now that's surrounded by all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Wow. And it's good and it's bad. Like I don't like sprawl so much, but then at the same time, if it's developed correctly, and that stretch of road was always really wide. I think it was already 3 lanes on each side, possibly, if I'm remembering right. But seemed like there was already prepped to handle the growth.
Not like just watching TV all day.
Were you gonna? Can we start that over? I wasn't recording. I hit record, but it didn't start recording. I had to choose an option, and I hadn't chosen it yet. So, that was a great answer, though. It was really solid. The fact that you just gave the key to life to everybody, and I wasn't recording, I really apologize.
Do the Anchorman countdown
The
with
world's gonna end again. I don't believe you. Um,
the
3, 2, 1. Hey, so that was crazy. So the last time I was up there was probably before all this kicked off. Maybe I don't know. I had
um,
that job interview,
we
and
had just got the Durango, and that was like in November. So it was
was
November
it
or
before
December.
Christmas? Godly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was, man. Jeez. So it's been a while, and so then March came. So you've been home now for 3, 4 months. Are you still working from home, or is
Still
it
working from home.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
been like
So
4 months of this. How's it been? Are you productive?
I'm not productive in the least bit. No, let me take that back. I'm productive. I'm getting things done. I'm not efficient. I'll say that.
It's hard though.
Uh, it feels like there's never a time where you're off now. Like you're basically on the clock 24/7
Mm,
because your normal work
yeah,
hours are now split between work and kids.
yeah,
And because that you now need to extend your work hours into later hours to
yeah.
compensate for it. Yeah, it's stressful. I'm not gonna lie. The idea of quitting and being a stay-at-home dad is so it's very alluring,
It
but
has its
also the
moments.
idea of cutting our household income in half is not
Yeah,
alluring. So
yeah. I'll tell you
I
what.
don't. Yeah.
The idea of getting back to making 6 figures is very alluring to me. The idea of going into an office wearing khakis with my shirt tucked in, trying to hide my fat gut, and 8 to 5, whatever, is not alluring at all. However, if anyone from Army Futures Command happens to watch this, I'd be very excited to contribute to the force and the mission of the United States government again. So, God, I gotta move this chair back, man. I'm like, oh, right on top of it. Um, it's yeah, no, it's hard. It's like with going to school. Me going back to school and then being at home with my son, because you can't ignore them. You can ignore them to an extent, but then if you ignore them too long, some shit's gonna happen, and then you're gonna feel
Yeah.
bad about ignoring them, and you're gonna be like, dude, I'm so sorry. Let's go do something. Let's get out of the house. Well, now whatever you were doing is done. It's come to a complete stop, and but your children are out of whack too. They're used to going to school. They're not used to being with you all the time, and
Yeah.
now they are, and they're like,
Yeah.
nope, don't like it either. At
Yeah.
first,
Well,
it
and
was
they're
probably
missing their
cool.
friends too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, just dude, everything is crazy. And then the school district up here is talking about like letting some kids go back to school in person, and then others
Yeah,
can go virtually. But if you go to school in person, you know the kids have to wear masks and they have to keep the social distancing and then
they're
blah
gonna
blah.
wear
Dude,
masks. No
under
way.
under ordinary circumstances, school is a friggin' circus. Like teachers are saints. They really
Yeah,
are. I have no idea how
they
they
live
can
with the law.
manage all the kids and educate them. It's ridiculous. That's in ordinary times.
Yeah,
Now add on the level of keep your mask on, stay away from Timmy, don't touch him, quit picking. No, like that's stupid. Like if this virus is still that much of a threat, the kids don't need to go to school physically. Do it virtually. If you have to have a Zoom meeting to explain what the school year is going to look like because it's too dangerous to have that meeting in person, we shouldn't be sending our kids to school
yeah, that's what your school
in
did.
person.
Is that what
Yeah,
the district did?
yeah.
Well, and
Well, and to be clear, it's not just Leander or ISD. I think that's common across the state. I
it's been a
mean,
lot of it.
everybody's like having Zoom meetings to explain what they're going to do for the school year. Listen, if we need to do this via Zoom,
There's your
we shouldn't be
sign.
we shouldn't be sending our
Yeah.
kids to school. That
Well, I think it was
the logic is so fucking stupid. It
Aleph.
makes no
Aleph
sense.
ISD was the first one I saw say no. Like we're not having in school classes at all. It's all going to be virtual. Whatever we can
What school
support.
district was this?
Aleph. So I think
Oh,
in
okay,
Houston
up in
area.
Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it just takes the first domino to fall. I mean, with all of this, the first domino was South by Southwest being canceled. That was
Yeah.
huge. I mean, that was right before, man, a multi-million-dollar boon to the economy, and they
Hmm.
said no, we can't do it. And then everything started click, 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 click. That's all it takes is the first domino. So I feel like with one large school district saying no, think about KDISD and what's one where Chad lives in Cyprus. These school districts that have 100,000 children in them, overburdened classrooms already. 4,000, 2,000 to 4,000 kids in a high school. Um, they're not social distancing whatsoever. They've already proven
No.
they want to go to parties and give each other COVID anyway. Let them, please.
Yeah.
But once they do, put them on the special train that I can't say specific. I know this almost sounded really bad. And that's not what I meant. But like, if you're that stupid already, you're not gonna help us out later. So maybe like that part of
uh,
Interstellar where they choose your
Natural
chapel.
selection, right?
That's. I was wondering whatever happened to community service, man. You always see like workers out mowing the highways and picking up trash and shit. What happened to community service? And then you think about, why is community service considered a punishment? Why isn't it just like
Yeah.
pride?
Why isn't? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Why can't it just be pride? So, but that's where you take those kids that wanted to give each other COVID, and you just are like, here's your trash bag and your reflective gear. Stay out of the fucking highway and go pick up trash. We don't want to see you again. There's a hot dog at the end of the road. You know, that's all you're gonna get. I mean, God, fucking stupid, man. And then there was a guy there, right? Was it Austin or maybe San Antonio? This guy was 30, and he had a COVID party, and I think he just died this last couple of days or something like
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
that. What the fuck is wrong with people, man? But then, but you see the comments, and being disconnected from social media is probably one of the best things that somebody can do right now. And I'll tune out for a while, and I'll just try to post like happy-go-lucky shit, funny
Mhm.
memes. Here's me and my kid having an awesome life, uh, and then something catches your brain where you're like, oh, I'm gonna share this because I think this is good information, and then people don't agree. They disagree with you that that's good information. That's corrupt, man.
Yeah.
Um, and then you're just thinking, wow, it's been tough. I mean, this is to me one of the. This is probably, besides 2003 when I went to Iraq, this is probably my shittiest year, of life. Thankfully, but the flip of is you're with your kids, and
Yeah.
otherwise you would be working full time at your office. Like me, I'd be in school or working full time, and you're missing out on a lot of these things that your children do, and you learn all these different nuances. Like my son said "motherfucker" the other day, and I was like, oh, he's around me too much, and he said it perfectly. It was like
Like,
something whatever, and he
like
was like,
so
motherfucker.
nonchalantly.
Oh yeah, it was done in perfect, perfect usage. And I was like, damn, dude, I
You
gotta
were
start
torn
substituting my
between
words.
mad and proud, huh?
Yeah, so I gotta start substituting my words. Something else, man. You can't be cussing around your kids all the time because they're gonna repeat it, especially when they're with you all the time. I'm my son's main playmate, and I feel bad for him. It's like he wants to he wants to be rough and tough. He'll come and like clobber me and want to choke on me and pull on me, and I'm like, get off me, man. And you'll wrestle some, but there's a point that
Yeah.
even a 5-year-old, they've got a little muscle, man. And like he
Yeah.
likes to grab my chin hair, man. He's like, ha ha ha, it's funny, right? It's not funny. It's not funny at all.
Or or you're just too damn tired. You're just like,
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for this right now.
You have 1,000 toys for a reason. Go find one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they walk off with their head down. My daddy doesn't love me, and you've ruined their life. What do you do?
No, I don't think it's that bad. But no, you're right though. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a weird situation as shitty as the whole virus thing is, and then the economy and the tank from it, and then all the racial tension bullshit. I guess there are some pretty cool silver linings in that we are getting to spend significantly better time with our kids versus always being at the office like it was before. So I
Yeah.
mean that is the cool thing. I'm not gonna lie, not having the commute is cool. the convenience of working from home is cool. And I've spent so much more time with the girls and so much more time on the bike.
Yeah.
And like today, I mean, I know today's Sunday, so typically, or I guess any Sunday should be like this, but I just feel like our weekends look more like this now than they did before. I spent the entire day in the garage with the girls. Actually, we went for a bike ride. We woke up late, went for a bike ride, and then came home and worked in the garage all afternoon. I was finishing a project that I had. The girls are out there playing in the garage with me. They helped me build a bike stand for one of their bikes. I'm teaching them how to use tools and how to measure stuff and build
Yeah,
stuff. And so, yeah, it's better quality time spent now
I agree.
versus before.
For me, when it's 98 degrees here, it ruins everything. That's my problem.
Yeah, he was pretty stupid, man. Yeah, our bike ride didn't last long. We only rode like 2.5 miles or something, just because the heat was out of control.
I
So
went
we,
outside for like 5 minutes today, dude. But I
yeah,
don't. But I really don't like that. I really hate that. Is because at least getting outside, and even if you're sweating it off, you're burning some energy. But at least you're getting out, you know.
hmm
But on days where it's nine, yeah. I honestly, I think it was 97, 98 degrees here, and then add in all the Corpus Christi humidity. Um, you're smoked, dude. And I'm just like, why? And then I look at my yard. I'm like, oh man, I really need to water and cut that. But why? I got so animated about that recently talking to somebody, and I was like, why do I spend the money to water it just so it'll grow and be
so
green,
you can
and then
cut it.
cut it and do the cycle all over again?
You sound like me now, dude. Am I rubbing off on you?
Yeah, like, but I think that's where I got it from. It's like, what's the point of that, though? What is the point of that? I
It
mean,
makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
my
The
yard's
the
not feeding anybody.
No, it's not just unproductive, it's wasteful. You're wasting water, you're wasting money, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy for an ornament.
For an
All
ornament,
it is an ornament.
and you have to
People
recycle
are
and
like,
repeat it.
I need a yard for my kids. Motherfucker, you don't use your yard for your kids. I don't
People don't.
ever see anybody with their kids out in the front yard playing. It doesn't happen.
No.
It's an ornament.
And I have like the biggest yard of my block. It sucks. So when you buy it, you're like, ooh, that's really lovely. It looks nice, until you're
Yeah,
taking care
yeah,
of it. And like, son of a bitch, man. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
pretty
just,
silly, dude. Yeah, the origins of the yard actually trace back to commoners wanting something that looks like what royalty has.
hmm,
Like royal people, rich people had big lawns that were
yeah,
manicured by their servants and stuff, and poor common folks lived in like brownstones or
shanties
townhouses,
on
things
top
that
of
were
each
like
other.
all
Yeah,
attached, right, with
yeah.
no yards. And so like,
Peasants.
so having a yard was like a status symbol. And so like we wanted to be able to replicate, look at the yard, look how rich I am, I'm so rich I can waste money on growing grass. Like I don't understand like how that perpetuated and how it's like kept on. Like I don't know. Growing up, growing up in suburban Texas as a young person, I thought having a big yard was cool. I mean, it's pretty common to hear,
Yeah, man.
"Oh, look how big my yard is!" Like having a big yard is like really cool. And so I enjoyed mowing the yard as a kid. I mowed yards for mowed grass for money.
Hmm.
Um, and then
You're a
and
grass
then
prostitute.
and then graduating college and buying my own house with a yard, and then maintaining it, cutting it every Sunday instead of riding my bike or doing something fun or doing something more productive. It took me a couple years, but I finally caught on. Like, what why am I doing this? Why am
Yeah.
I spending my time and my money and my water and my energy to keep this up. This is dumb.
And the water's
Yeah.
expensive, man,
It's
which is the
yeah,
most
and we
ironic fucking thing.
we complain about being in a drought. Oh, we're running out of water. We don't have enough water to drink. We don't have enough water to feed our population growth. Quit watering your grass.
Here's
Quit
maybe
building houses with lawns.
here's something maybe like you can fix for me that might be a misnomer. Do you need to water your lawn and around your foundation to keep it from cracking and stuff, like to keep it steady, or does that depend where you live?
Wait, is that a question?
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean
Oh,
like
okay.
is that factual that you have to water, like make sure that the ground around
Yeah,
your house is
yeah.
moist
I
all
mean,
the
if
time?
you live in like really crummy areas like Corpus, they
Built on clay, like
have really
all
shitty soils that
armpit
expand and
farmland.
contract depending on how much water is in the soil. Yeah, because if typically when the foundation it's on optimally moist soil that is some water, not too much, not. And so the soil is at like a certain position, a certain height, right? When it's built. So if it dries out, that soil is going to contract and your foundation is going to move and crumble apart. So you want to water the soil around your foundation to keep it from contracting and breaking your foundation. Or what I've found to be a better, more sustainable and enjoyable alternative is just moving out of Corpus.
Getting a nice townhouse and
Move somewhere
that's
that you don't have to
landscaped
water
for
your
you.
foundation.
Yeah,
What's that?
and moving like to a townhouse where someone maintains the landscaping
Yeah,
for you and things like that. Like I
yeah,
wholeheartedly agree with that.
yeah, yeah,
It's interesting to get on something like Google Maps and look at how New York City is built, and and a lot of the East Coast cities. And I don't know if you ever do this, but I do. But I'll drive down the street on Google Maps looking at stuff. But how homes built probably in the 1700s, 1800s were built really close to the street, kind of how they do in Europe, built really close to the street. Most do not have any kind of front yard whatsoever. It's sidewalk or road and a stoop or steps, and that's it. And then they're built really close together. But like you said, I guess, and it makes sense, is that the suburban areas were built entirely different with yards because it looked fancy. And if you got outside of New York City and you go to Long Island further out, it's going to be more suburban sprawl. But and I guess because people want a distance from each other, they get tired of living on top of each other. But here in the Midwest, it's always been about having some land, a little bit of space.
yeah.
And I guess our cities were built like that essentially. I have a buddy that lives in Philadelphia, and he said outside of the East Coast, there are no cities. He said they're just fucking big sprawl splatches. They're not real cities. Like, then of course you're like, yeah, fuck you, man. I got real cities here. It's not really an insult. You're like, you shouldn't take it personal. It's kind of like
Yeah,
politics is right now. Everything's personal.
yeah, yeah,
You ruined my life. All right.
yeah.
That's okay. So I guess I need to keep watering around the foundation at least. Because it's a
Or
pain,
just
man.
sell the place and move up here.
It's a goal.
That's yeah,
Might be
yeah,
coming really quickly. We'll see. Some people might, if they shouldn't say it, can't say it out loud, but it would be ideal. I think that that's for one, being progressive, but also having some balance is very important too.
mhm,
Um, Kids should not discuss, care, or know about politics, in my opinion. And you have young children who just speak about it, and I don't get that at all, man. When I was
yeah,
10, 12, whatever, I knew who the president was, but I didn't care. It wasn't important to
yeah,
me. Like
yeah,
the last thing that was important to me. And now you have young people maybe getting involved and educated a little bit with politics is good, but when they're very slanted, left or right, to me that's
yeah,
very alarming and concerning. And I tell you what too might be interesting is with us being at home so much and so long, that can be very influential in your kids too when they just hear mommy and daddy talking about stuff, and
yeah,
that they pick up on all those influences, and then they're not getting to go to school and just have a lot of the dispelled among each other and socializing, which is a huge part of school. Mom always said it wasn't a fashion show, but where were you going to find out what you couldn't afford? You know, like, how
Yeah,
come?
yeah.
All right. Um, but that's,
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I really, my son's supposed to start kindergarten in August, and I really want him to go to kindergarten, but not at the cost and risk that there is in place out there right now. And that's all kindergarten is really is, you know,
Germ factory.
indoctrination to being socialized. That sounds
Yeah.
awful. But the commies. Um, so I don't know. I don't want him to be stunted by being at home with his dad for so long.
Yeah.
And by the
Yeah.
time he gets to first grade, you know, it's first grade's going to be like kindergarten for this generation of kids. And what your girls are like third and fifth, something like that.
They're going into second and fourth.
It was 1 year
Yeah.
advanced. But
Yeah.
like, but that's education level wise, might be all right. But then the socialization part might be a little tough. And
Yeah, and
you're saying,
the social aspect is like such a huge part of the education. Just learning how to fit in socially and how to interact with people. I mean, yeah, that's one thing I've always thought about. Um, um, gosh, homeschool kids. I had a brain fart. Anyways, homeschool kids. I've always thought like, how do they learn like the social aspects of life, like interacting with their friends, interacting with jerks. Like, I mean,
how to handle it. Yeah.
that's such a key part of going to school. So I was wondering, what's your take on? So my earlier I said I don't want my girls going back to school. My apprehension is rooted more around the logistics of it. Like I said, in ordinary times, school is hard enough to teachers, administrators as it is.
Yeah.
It's just going to be exponentially worse, adding on layers of safety and blah, 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 this other logistical bullshit. I'd rather not mess with it. My concern isn't so much from the virus or the illness standpoint. I feel like, and I guess I'm going off on a tangent here, but I feel like at some point, just got to rip off the Band-Aid, man. So anyways, I was curious what your take is. Like, should we keep hiding in a hole and just like kind of like I don't know. I feel like we're not progressing toward any solution here. We're just hunkering down and hiding until this boogeyman's going to go away.
So
Never going
now
to go away.
this is your interview, Anthony.
Do what?
I said, so now this is your interview. Just kidding. Just kidding. But no,
The
I
game
agree.
is afoot.
That's the really hard part of like, when do you rip the Band-Aid off? And it's, our state has shown, theoretically, I guess, we ripped the Band-Aid off too soon. And we have these huge spikes. And do we want that to repeat in August? Here's my deal is, why can't we just have a delay with the school year versus saying we have to start in August? Because
Yeah.
here in the school district my kid goes to, it's a good school district, Cal Allen, but sometimes I don't know like how it is, like who's running it. They announced in May that they wanted to start the school year August 5th, and they built in health days. And what I understood the concept with health days was, is so if they had to shut down the school because of a corona spike or something like that,
Yeah.
they start school year early. They have health days built in, so they wouldn't elongate it too much. And if they use all the health days, and the school year is going to be a little bit longer, I don't know, some shit like that, right? But they're already talking about starting earlier than usual. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why, dude? Why do you have to start in August? When we were kids, at least when I was a kid, I remember school starting at the very beginning of September. By the time I graduated high school, it was like August 22nd. And I was thinking, why the fuck are we going to school in August, man? It's hot. And they kept moving the school year up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now at this stage, I'm at the mentality that year-round school is the way to go. Having 3
Didn't
months off in the
Corpus do
summer
that?
makes
Didn't
no sense.
CCISD
They
like
did,
make
and
the
so we
switch?
have, yeah, CCISD, Tolosa Midway. I think London already does, and maybe West Oso. So Cal Allen is one of the singular holdouts, and Gregory Portland. to me, there's no reason not to have year round. Kids aren't farming anymore. That was the whole purpose of having the summer off, is to help your
Yeah.
farming parents farm. Why, like in Detroit or Chicago and shit like that, why would they have an entire summer off? There's no farms in those cities.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
understood that model. Except when we were kids, it was cool, but for our
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
they had to figure out
Yeah.
what to do with you. So the parent has to figure out something to do with the kids during the summer, especially if they're young. And if both parents work, that means they got to find daycare, babysitter, something like that to put them in. And that's another racket. But having the school year just to start earlier doesn't make any fucking sense. And then having the government, the federal government, I'll just say, stomp their feet and say, if schools don't open back up on time, then they'll lose federal funding. What kind of shit is that? Thanks for the support, pal. Do you have any
Yeah.
ideas of how we could get there and open up safely and, some shit like that? Or are you just going to put some moron in charge and just demand it? That's always the threat,
Yeah.
We're a threat that you have to open. Otherwise, this will happen. No support whatsoever. So, but that's how it is for me with parents too, is like, we're not really getting good information from any leadership at any level. It's just
Yeah. It feels like there's conflicting
rhetoric.
messages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
constant embattlement. It's all this rhetoric of, they'd rather point fingers at the other instead of just saying, this is our plan,
Yeah.
and we'd
Yeah.
love some input, but this is generally where we're going. And, if you don't, I think the idea of having a handful of kids go and a handful of kids staying at home is an okay plan, um, without any penalization for it. I think that's an okay plan. You're not gonna. It's just to me, it's so hard to work around. Schools also become a babysitting platform for working
Yeah.
parents. It is what it is, and without that, uh, like the two of you cannot go back to work if your girls cannot go to school, and vice versa. So it's a really weird. Well, you both could still be working from home if they were going to school. You'd probably be like, shit, this is quiet. Finally watch some of those shows that Jason keeps telling me about. Time on his hands.
No, that's been another challenge in working from home is I need a dedicated workspace. Like, in fact, I've already knew this about myself. I already knew that I function better in dedicated spaces. Like, I can do some work at home, but generally home for me is either I'm being lazy or I'm working on home projects. Whereas at the office, dude, like when I sit down at my desk at the office, like I'm plugged in, ready to go, like no jacking around, just ready to get work done.
Yeah.
And that was like never more evident when I went back to the office 2 or 3 weeks ago for something. I can't remember what the reason was now, but I went back to the office and I felt like a freaking machine, dude. I felt like a superhero with like the level of productivity and the level of attention and focus I had. I was like, this is amazing. Just the stark contrast from working at home where you've got 2 kids like buzzing around and you're working in the middle of a heap of a mess that the kids cause, and you're also distracted by, here's a bed I want to lay on and be lazy, or I want to go out in the garage and tinker with something, or I want to go on a bike ride. There's any number of things that I'd rather do than work.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think it's weird, man. I'm living in Europe for a little while. Americans work really hard, and I think work more hours than the vast majority of Western countries. I think a lot of Asian countries, they work the shit out of their people. Maybe like India, something like that. They work the shit out of their people. But for the most part, we work a lot, and we feel like we have to work all the time to be productive, to feel valuable, like a valued member of society. You got to work all the time and inject shit. Teach your kids to work hard. Maybe now is a good time where we're teaching and learning how to just work smarter instead of, oh, you got to work hard all the time. It's like, how about I just fucking work well, be a well-oiled machine, be efficient. I don't have to put in 40 or 50 hours to get this done, because once I get it done in 10 hours, Now I have 30 hours of the work week to do what? You know, if you're going to the office every day, you're not working 40 hours straight, man. Nobody is. I mean, maybe some, the super hard workers or people who are overworked, but you're going to have some, you know, your break times. And I mean, someone like me, I probably spent 50% of my time fucking off. And you're like, oh, I'm behind on things. But for me, I could turn around and I could just rack things out like really quick, you know, and it'd still be a high quality product. Then I think, well, if I would actually put a lot of effort into that ahead of time, I might even been better. But teach their own. But it goes back to like some people believe in putting in 50 or 60 hours in a work week. That's insane, man. That's a lot. And that goes back to you're not seeing your kids at that point.
Yeah.
And so now you're seeing them all the time and we're just not used to it. This might be also the way forward for a lot of companies.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's good. It's a good wake up call for helping us realize how imbalanced our lives are. I know when I lived in Corpus, dude, my work weeks were 50, 60 hours a week, easy. And then when I moved here, the firm that I worked for, again, 50, 60 hours a week, easy. The firm I'm with now, HNTB, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could only speak for my personal experience. I don't know what it's like for other groups within the company, but at least for the group that I'm with now, like just you mentioned, you made this statement earlier about well-oiled machine. I feel like the group I'm with now is such a well-oiled machine that dude, I'm working just straight 40s. I've yet to work overtime once here at this firm, and so that in combination with now working at home, seeing the kids more, and having more opportunity to invest in the house and do home projects, or more opportunities to take the girls bike riding more frequently. It's been a good opportunity to kind of rebalance where you spend your time. So yeah, it's been
Do you
good.
think it's going to be hard to return to normal?
I think the difficulty of returning to normal is sacrificing the time that you did for commuting. That's going to suck. And losing the flexibility of being able to manage your time as you see fit or at your will. Like in the afternoon, if the girls are getting crazy and restless, I'm like, all right, let's put this on pause. I'm going to put work on pause. We're going to go ride bikes. And then I'll finish my work at night.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard to give up. It's going to be nice to have a dedicated workspace where I can sit and focus and function and be highly effective and efficient. That'll be good. That'll be nice. But being able to be flexible and moving around at will, the loss of that is going to be kind of rough. But
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not. It's half and half for me. It's just I've been at home now for. Technically, it's been over a year, man. I mean, I was able to go back to school for a little while on a campus, literally 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's been over a year since I left Driscoll, a little over a year since I left a radio station. And so this has been my normal. Thank God I have a retirement from the military, man. Or I'd be fucking homeless. But it's, or, working at Home Depot or something, which is nothing wrong with that. I thought about it for a while too, just like, man, go to work at Home Depot. I can't stand customers. That's my problem.
No. Yeah.
Like working at Home Depot, I think would be kick ass. Playing with tools, walking around on all that shit all day long and fucking with things. But it's the people, man, coming up. Hey, sir, need a little quarter-inch pipe, blah, blah, blah. And you're like,
or people trying to negotiate the prices. I'm like, dude, the price. This isn't a fucking garage sale.
This isn't a car lot, bro.
The price is right there on the sticker. That's how much
you're going to give me that for $500, man. You're like, it's $1,200 cabinet, you asshole. Go to the flea market for that $500 cabinet.
Dude, people are the worst. When I worked at, I don't know if you remember, but I worked at the Home Depot in Corpus on SPID when I was going to school at Kingsville. Yeah,
that's probably long gone, man. I guess
I worked in the tool rental there, and
Keller worked there, man. I wonder.
Do what?
Well, a friend of mine worked there too about that time frame. I bet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you his name offline. You might know
Okay.
him anyway.
I'll never forget. I got a call from a customer. So this is in tool rental. They're looking for some tool, and they asked if we had tool rental in the Crosstown store. And I said, no, sir, just on SPID. And then he bitched and moaned about having to drive all the way over to the SPID store. Now, for the viewers and listeners who aren't familiar with the geography of Corpus
Yeah,
Christi,
Chrissy.
it's a vast open land of just a huge metropolis. It was like another 10 minutes
Yeah,
from the store he wanted to go to the store I was at. Like the dude was bitching about another
great.
5 to 10 minute drive. So yeah, people are the worst, dude. They complain about the dumbest shit.
They always do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never. Well, I can't say never worked retail. I worked retail once in high school. I worked at a TCBY. I guess it's kind of retail. I don't know. I got fired for
Mm.
giving away a banana split. Um, I think that might have been the only time. The other, I moonlighted a few times in the army. You know, like I was stationed in San Antonio. I worked at the Riverwalk Marriott doing valet, and I did that for 1 or 2 days, I think, and then I quit. I was like, fuck that shit, terrible, dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I won't valet park now because I just feel bad for the guys working valet. It's a
Yeah.
horrible job. People treat them like shit, man. They pull up in their
Yeah.
really nice car and they're like, "Here you go, sport. Park it nice." No, I'm gonna park it fucked up, man. When you pulled up, I was like, I'm gonna smash this guy's car and everything, so I get fired from my, minimum wage job. But I hope you give me $5 for a tip, something like that. It's nice that you drive a Dodge Viper, and maybe you could spare a bone. It was horrible. And then I learned, so I was busting my ass, man. The parking garage at that Riverwalk Marriott is underneath the hotel, so all the cars go down there. It's summertime. It doesn't matter if you're 3 stories down under the building in San Antonio. It's still like 95, probably 100 degrees down there.
Yeah.
I'm running down the ramps to go get cars. I'm running back up after parking a car. I was in the army and I was actually in shape then, so it wasn't horrible. But I was looking at all these other guys and they're all fat fucks, and I'm like, why am I the only one working this hard? And one guy
Yeah.
told me, he's like, hey, stop. Like, there's no point in doing that. Like you're gonna burn yourself out. So then I realized too that they were pulling tips, and I quickly was like, if a guy gives me a 20, I'm coming back with a 5 to put in the box. I'm not giving away all my cash that I'm earning. So I
Yeah.
figured that one out. But I just thought, what a horrible job, man. I mean, it's like a what is it, a bellboy, a bellhop at a hotel,
Yeah. Yeah.
bus boy in a restaurant, another horrible job. I did that one day, one shift, and I quit. It's just gross, man. It was gross. And it
I
was
was
whenever people could smoke, when they could smoke in restaurants, and so people would put their cigarette butts out and like the ketchup and shit, and then you're busting it, and then having a wash too. I was like, nasty people, man.
yeah.
I couldn't do it. Nope.
I was a busboy at Jason's Deli for a while. I think the shortest job I had was at AutoZone.
Yeah.
So the store hours were till 8 p.m. and um I wasn't familiar with their closing procedures and all that shit. So on my application I said available from whatever time till close, thinking I would get out at 8.
Yeah.
First day I showed up to work, they said I had the closing shift and I would be getting off like at 11 or something. And this was in Corpus, and I had class at 8 a.m. in Kingsville.
Yeah.
So not only did I have homework and studying to do in the evening, but I also had to get up early to drive from Corpus to Kingsville. So working till 11 p.m. wasn't something I really wanted to do.
Oh.
So after learning this little tidbit, like 15 minutes into my shift, I quit.
That's awesome.
That was like the shortest job I've ever had. I worked for like 20 minutes.
That's
So
cool.
that was fun.
I liked it. You just said, "Nah, this ain't gonna work for me," and they were like, "Yeah, but you're on shift," and you're like, "No, I'm not."
I quit. I'm sorry. I can't work that
Whenever
way.
I was retiring from the army, all I wanted to do was get shit jobs. And I shouldn't say shit jobs, but I wanted to work at like Taco Bell and work there for 4 or 5 days, but video it. and then quit in like a rage, like when the manager tells you to like not mix up the lettuce and cheese, just fucking throw it everywhere and be like, break all the shells and stuff, and then just cause a scene and walk out. And I thought it'd be cool to do that and do that at like several different places, and then in YouTube it would be rad, man. But like, you'd probably eventually get sued or they'd catch on, You'd have to be like, I'm gonna forget his name right now, but there's the comedian.
Sasha Cohen or whatever
Yeah,
that name is.
you have to be like that guy, man.
Borat.
Pull it off. That guy gets so many people doing shit. It's unreal. And I don't watch enough of it. I really should. I mean, he tears people up, man. And it's pretty hilarious. Cool. We need more of that. So we need more laughter right now, particularly. That's like something I think is missing. Recently, I was telling some of my buddies, like, who were like Democrats, kind of liberal, whatever, is I told them, like, liberals don't have a sense of humor, man. Like, nothing's funny to liberals anymore. It's so fucking like
everybody's so offended, dude. Like everything is offensive. It's stupid.
Well, and then today for me, I feel like conservatives don't have a sense of humor, and I was like, "What's up?" Like I thought people thought things were funny. So I told him Mary King. Do you follow that guy on Facebook? A Mary King, something like that. Amari King. I don't know who he really is. He's just some fucking influencer. He's controversial. I don't know. He has 1 million followers, whatever. But he had a post about how masks don't make sense. Like they can't really protect you. And I put on there like, and your dad didn't wear a condom, so here we are, or something like that. It's like what's the point? It's like, yeah, not everything's perfect, but it helps. It helps.
Yeah.
I should have written. Oh, my point was, and then like a friend of mine who's really conservative, I think he was kind of trying to be funny, as he said, that's not really appropriate. And I was like, I thought conservatives had a good sense of humor. Like, what's your problem, man? I got to get off Facebook. I need a break. I really do.
Yeah.
Facebook's just terrible. I keep telling myself the only thing to use it for is to advertise this stuff and nothing else. If it's not making money for me, why use it? So that's
it's a cesspool of misinformation and shitty attitudes and emotional knee jerks. It's just it's not a good environment.
And I don't know what happened and how we got there. It goes to the thing of, you and I say, if we didn't have Facebook, and really still right at this moment, I would say I really don't know your political leanings, somewhat, but not to an extent of the majority of people you come across on Facebook. And I think it's important. It really is important people keep that stuff to themselves to an extent, because you get judged for it all the time, and it gets old. I've been called everything under the sun, especially on Twitter, from being a Tulsi supporter. I voted for George Bush back in the day. I voted for Obama once. I voted for Trump, and I freely admit that, because I didn't want to vote for Hillary. So my conscience was like, well, it can't be that bad, right?
I voted for Johnson.
And I'm jealous. I'm proud of you for that. It's like,
I couldn't.
So are you going to vote for Joe Jorgensen or whatever? Like, who the fuck is Joe? All I can think of is the lotion. The Jorgensen.
I think I'm gonna write in. Just write in. Fuck you. And
yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of write-ins this go around. I'm gonna write in my dead dogs. Bogey and Sky for president, vice president, please. It's you end up with the two worst candidates of all time in the last election, and then in this election you're forced to have one, and then they're throwing you like the second worst candidate of all time for the Democratic Party at this point. I don't understand, like, how for a party that considers themselves to be progressive, why are you having your grandfather fucking run? Like, or your parent, it's like, why wouldn't you have a younger progressive candidate? And it's just very bizarre.
And a dude who so painfully obviously has some level of dementia, and I'm not making fun of him. Do what?
I said, what's that, Jeff? It's that's how it goes. The guy doesn't know who he's talking to. And you're like,
the nukes. and I'm not gonna make fun of him or like make light of his situation.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
mean,
tough, man.
I feel for people who have neurological situations like that. Um, but I don't. Why would the Democratic Party, a machine like the Democratic, put up someone like that, especially a party who claims to be like compassionate towards people and to people with special needs or people or whatever. Like this this dude obviously has some special. You're like pushing him on the stage to go Trump. Like I just it makes no
I
sense to
hope
me.
there's not a debate, man. It'd just be embarrassing on the global stage. You know, it's
It would
he's
be.
gonna be up there like this Sleepy Joe, and he's gonna be like, or something. Would you say, Ronald? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah.
insane, and you just have two. To me, they're the same person, and it's bizarre, man. It just is. Out of all those candidates you had in the Democratic Party, there were like 20 some odd candidates at one point. You end up with this one guy, and people are really going in. Actually, to be honest, I don't know any of my Democrat friends who are really going in for Biden. They're just kind of like, "Oh, I think he might have the best chance to beat Trump," and he might, but he shouldn't. He should. I mean, he just shouldn't be the candidate. You know, I think a fucking dead dog could actually probably beat Trump at this point, but and I have friends who say there's no way that Trump's going to lose. And I'm like, well, the polls, but then the polls are hard to believe because the polls in 2016 had Hillary winning. So who's
Yeah.
to say? I don't know. It's just bizarro land, man. I don't know if we can survive another 4 years of Trump. But then can we survive 4 years of Biden? It's Joe
Yeah.
Jorgensen though is not going to win the third party. You know, she's not going to become the president off the third party ticket at this point. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
See, exactly. She's the liberty. She's the Gary Johnson of 2020,
Huh.
and I just started seeing this here lately, man, of this lady running, and her name's Joe Jorgensen, and just see this shitty meme, essentially like a. It's not really a meme, but it's something made with a PowerPoint, and it's like my favorite thing to do is eat cereal. I don't just whatever some shitty talking point that you're like, is that it? That's you guys trash Tulsi Gabbard, who could speak well and knew her shit, was a service member who, just and had some experience or whatever, but they trashed her, called her a Russian asset, and then you had whatever other candidates, your minority
I think
candidates,
I
they
think
trashed them.
I think that's exactly why we're not getting good and decent people to run, because that's what this environment, that's what
Toxic, yeah,
this, like, I don't know what the right word is, but to describe the media, but like this voracious media does. They're so hungry for blood. It's like salacious. Like the more like drama they can drum up, the more ratings they get, so the more they make. Like it's so like it's damaging and destructive and counterproductive. So like good people don't want to run
sure,
because they don't
yeah,
want what happened to Tulsi Gabbard and any of these other people.
yeah. Just get torn
Because you know
apart.
what, we're all human. We've all fucked up. We all have skeletons in the closet. We've all done in the past, but we get dug up and broadcast across because we want to run for president.
Hmm. Or
Fucking
any office, yeah,
fucking assholes like Trump or Biden who are so fucking full of themselves
yeah,
and tone deaf and just like disconnected from reality running for president. That's what we get.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's
Instead of homegrown people, like people who actually are from the streets, who were self-made, and that's always just been okay. My big deal with Trump for the working class man or woman is, um, I think we talked about this last time too. In 2016, I liked Marco Rubio, and the reason is I felt like Marco Rubio would come have dinner at your house. Donald Trump will not come have dinner at your house. If your candidate's not relatable to you and your
yeah,
life and your lifestyle, why would you vote for him? Why do you like that guy? Not only that, why do you fly their flags all over the fucking place? What is that
yeah,
about? I feel like that's a
yeah,
cult, man. It's very creepy. Now, on the
yeah,
flip side, if Biden's people were doing the same thing, and you saw people flying a Biden flag, you'd be thinking the same thing. It's to me that would still be just as bizarro. And why is that happening? Why are people shoving it in your face so hard?
Yeah.
Um, it just doesn't make sense. It's very everything is
and
very extreme and animated, I guess, and I don't
yeah.
understand. I don't have a problem with the people who support those guys, especially like people in our family or whatever. I don't care, but I don't care. Like I don't need to know that you know lay down at night and you have a Trump pillow and you brush his hair softly while you go to bed and you press a button and he whispers sweet nothings in your ear, or that might actually be the Biden pillow where he'd whisper in your ear, you know, and sniff your face or whatever. But why does anybody want to die on the cross for these goofball rich elitists who would never step foot in your place? You know, it's just it's very strange to me. And I don't know, man. It for me as someone who served 20 years to my country to think about wanting to live in another country, mostly because some other countries are pretty kick ass, but because it's so volatile here. And I think like, man, Costa Rica, Belize, something like that, you know, I mean, seems it seems pretty attractive, you know. And they're not perfect, without a doubt. They're not perfect, but you don't hear the shit coming out of their countries like you do ours constantly. We're very polarizing as a nation to the rest of the world. And
and volatile. You said volatile. I think it's like it's the perfect description for what we're in right now. It seems like you can't express an opinion that opposes anyone else's without lighting a fire, and it just explodes. It just
wait till some of our family members see this part of the chat. You're gonna be a commie, man. So if you're a Democrat, you're a commie.
You moved to Austin. This is what happens when you move to Austin.
That's right. You become progressive, man. You damn hippie. You commie hippie. You're in your own bubble. But yeah, so if you're a Democrat, you're a commie. If you're Republican, you're a racist. And if you are neither, nobody believes you. Like, no, I'm an independent, man. They're like, what is that? That's bullshit. No such thing.
You're wasting your vote. That's what it is.
You're wasting your vote. Like, fucking wasting your life.
When I tell a Trump supporter that I voted for Johnson, oh, you basically voted for Hillary. And if I tell a Hillary supporter I voted for Johnson, oh, you basically voted for Trump.
Yeah.
No, I used my brain and my conscience, and I voted for the person that was the least of the three.
I'm gonna reach out to Carolyn Vaughn and try to get her to take part in one of these just for fun, you know, for my numbers for one. But
that doesn't
I want to hear
fun.
why. So you should have seen the Republicans down here were eating her like the way they were eating Abbott about his decision, because when she announced the run for mayor, she apparently had to give up her seat as county commissioner and a precinct, not the county commissioner, which people frequently confuse apparently with her. But man, Mike Pusley and some of these other people, they were fucking eating her alive. Like she sold out and she was a commie and all this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, what'd you do when you were in that position? I don't remember you doing shit either, man. I don't. Oh, what'd you beautify some parks? Well, my roads still fucking suck. And I know that's part of your job description. As a matter of fact, county commissioner literally says on there that you maintain roads and streets and signage and some shit like that, you know? And I'm like, I didn't do any of that. There's proof every day. I don't, it's weird. It's very weird. I don't know why the lady just seems like she's a glory seeker, I guess. And she serves in a position for a couple of years and she's like, okay, moving on up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the clout and the means, I guess I don't blame you for that. But when you're not bringing anything to the table in the first place,
that's my thing. Is like, what's her agenda? What is she
why do
bringing?
people keep voting for her?
What is she pushing? What's her vision? Like, I don't think she has a vision.
That's why I want to have her on. Get that information.
I guess that could be.
Yeah. What I envision for the city of Corpus Christi is I'd like to bring back, you know, the good old times where all the one kind of people lived in one part of the city, and then like, wait a minute.
Is she gonna have a "Make Corpus Great Again" hat or what?
Yeah.
An MCCGA.
It's just strange, man. It's like, or you can have Joe McComb, who's graduated with my dad,
Yeah.
and he actually has a quote in that New York Times article about how Corpus got trounced, and it's like, never would have seen that coming. No shit. We know you didn't see it coming because you did nothing. That guy did
Yeah.
nothing, man. He pretty much
Yeah.
called it a hoax early on. It was like, I'm not worried about that shit. And then, bam, I'd rather have Dan McQueen right now.
Oh God.
He'd get out in front of it,
Yeah.
pull up his
Yeah.
sleeve, and give you a talk. He's
He
like, "What you
he
got here? Me as an engineer, I can tell you."
as a fake engineer.
Where'd you get your degree from? It's Florida University State. Is that a new one? No, they closed down. You
No,
can't even access the records. It's so old, man.
they closed down for handing out fake engineering degrees.
I went to Trump University. I'm sorry.
It's good
We have
stuff.
a president who had a fake university that got shut down by federal officials, and no one gives a shit. that's that's where we are in 2020, friend. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just wild times, man. It's really wild times.
Bizarro world indeed.
So I really want to get up there soon, just to visit, generally speaking. Um, but it's yeah. When can those things happen these days?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say come as soon as you can, but I don't want you to bring those corpus germs with you, okay? Because I hear corpus is like on fire these days with COVID.
I've thought
Like,
about just hopping in the truck and driving to like Colorado or something like that with my son. But then I think how long of a drive it is to get from here to out of Texas. From here to El Paso, it's like 12 hours. You
yeah,
know, I mean, that's a fucking day's drive right there. And then I think by the time I got to Colorado, I'd be tired and frustrated and thinking, why did I come to Colorado if nothing is open? What are you gonna do, man? You know, it's like the worst staycation that anyone can come up with. But
yeah,
again, you get to spend a lot of time with your children. And when I
yeah,
asked you the other day, like, okay, you're working from home, do you have to be at home? But then it's where else can you really go to do what you're doing? Like, you can't go anywhere for a week or two.
yeah,
You can. It's just there's not a lot that's open. Um,
yeah.
might drive to the Grand Canyon.
Do it,
It's always open, right? It's
do
there.
it.
You can't close the Grand Canyon. Shit.
Speaking of the Grand Canyon, I was just watching a really cool documentary on the Grand Canyon before we started this.
Yeah.
Apparently, so the documentary is about this
Grand Canyon's a
photographer.
hoax.
Do what?
The Grand Canyon's a hoax, isn't it?
It's all fake, just like on
The moon landing.
well, just like on you know that you're a parent when all of your you relate to like kids TV or kids
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
like on Despicable Me when the pyramids are fake.
Yeah. They're like
So yeah, the Grand Canyon is fake. It's just a giant canvas of a
yeah,
painted gorge.
green screen.
But no, this documentary was about a photographer and a reporter who decided to hike the entire length of the Grand Canyon,
Wow.
not just like float the river or or walk or drive or whatever means of transportation along the rim,
Mm.
but actually hike like on the walls and side
Wow.
slopes of the entire Grand Canyon. And this apparently was like a um just like a spur of the moment kind of decision, like not a whole lot of planning put into it. Their first attempt was pretty disastrous, like on the brink of death kind of stuff.
Ooh.
Well, after they escaped that first attempt and regrouped and learned their lessons and figured out they've got to actually plan for this, their second attempt was much more legitimate and well thought out and well planned. It's pretty cool. I didn't get to watch the entire thing, but it's a pretty cool documentary that shows some pretty amazing footage. Anyways, the reason mentioning this, you said you can't close the Grand Canyon.
Hang on, hang on, hang
Apparently,
on. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. It's gonna be a
okay,
hot minute.
BRB.
All right, there we go. That's
So
great.
apparently, as part of this documentary, one of the things they talk about is apparently there's a proposed development at the Grand Canyon that it's like the eastern end of it, that it's not in the national park, it's on um, property owned by the natives. I think it's the I don't remember the name of the tribe now, but the natives that live there, that live on the reservation, they own this segment of the Grand Canyon.
I was
This
looking it up. Oh, okay.
somehow, I don't know how it came about. Anyways, is proposing to develop like this big, like entertainment complex at the rim, and then have like this big what the hell is it called? Like a ski lift, but going down instead of up, to take people down from the rim down to the bottom of the canyon to more facilities down at river level. And the natives are opposing the development because this is sacred land and they don't want it to be commercialized. So I understand from their standpoint, but it's odd to me, like, how would this developer come in and propose this development on land that he doesn't have access to?
Sounds
Anyways,
like
it's super fascinating. It's on Nat Geo on Disney Plus. You should check it out on
okay.
X.
No, I will because that yeah, we watched the crap out of that. That is interesting. So it's current, like it's a really like a current event.
I think so. I mean, I don't know what year this was filmed. I would assume it's relatively.
1992.
Yeah, it's certainly not that old.
No, that is interesting. I would tell you that for me, I just don't like the idea because I think the Grand Canyon is sacred to our country. Like as land,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't
It
have a
shouldn't
lot
be
of historical
commercialized. Yeah,
shit in this country, man. This country's
yeah,
only like 250 years old, whatever, somewhere in that range. Um, but that's something that frustrates me. You look at Europe and Asia, as they have monuments. South America, they have monuments that are thousands of years old, and nothing like that exists in the United States. It makes you wonder sometimes if it did, and the white man tore it down when it came in. Actually, the Spanish
yeah.
motherfuckers. But it makes you wonder. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so the Grand Canyon, though, it's one of those very few things we have in this landmass. To me, that's historic
Yeah,
and sacred like that. I'd hate to see them build a main event
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
K1 racetrack. Race down the Grand Canyon. I mean, fuck, man. It sounds cool, but horrible at the same time. You know,
Yeah, no, I don't think they should do it. I
build a
mean,
slide, big slide from the top that you can go down. Charge $300 a pop for idiots.
yeah, yeah,
They do it, so you know if you can make a buck, they'll figure out a way. But yeah, I don't like that, man. I do. I remember things like people tight roping across the Grand Canyon.
What about Evil Knievel trying to
Yeah, and
jump across it?
Chris Angel. Did you ever see that video where he like
No.
drove a car and as he drove up the ramp, it explodes and then he magically appears in this cage is hanging from a helicopter in the middle of the canyon. It looks terrible. It's such bullshit, you know. I mean, it was bad editing and stuff, and made fun of. Apparently, his career nosedived right after that. I'd still go see Chris
Nah.
Angel in Vegas. You know, I think it'd be cool. You guys pretty rad, but yeah, like magic's real. Show me a
Yeah.
dragon with Daenerys Stormborn on it, and I'll be happy. Um, I think it's been pretty good, man. It's good catching up.
Hey, real quick before we go, in other news, I signed up for what's called the Texas Distance Challenge.
Okay.
They have it's for cycling. They have different levels of distances. The top level is, they call it like the loop or the lap. It's equivalent to riding a lap around the state of Texas. It's like 3,600 miles or something.
Okay.
And you have a year to complete it. Started July 1st, so I have a year to ride 3,600 miles. My so that average is about 10 miles a day, 70 miles a week. My first week, I did pretty good. I was on track, averaged about 10 miles a day. But the last 3 days, I rode 2 miles, a whopping 2 miles today,
Oh, God.
but didn't ride anything Friday or Saturday. So here we are in week 2. I'm already falling behind.
Can you
So
can you do stationary?
you can, but
Those cheap.
first I don't have a trainer, so I need to buy a trainer so I can ride stationary. But then also it's just kind of boring to me. I'd
Yeah.
rather be outside.
See, I still get so nervous riding the bike, and I can't say that I've ridden it in the last year or so, but it would just make me nervous. But part of it's the shitty roads, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Potholes and loose gravel, and you're in these little thin tires, and you're like,
yeah.
like I don't care for that, man. Mountain bike
Well,
a little bit better, but then the mountain bike weighs 400 pounds, so
bring your bike up here. Bring your road bike up here, and we'll go for a ride on some of the shared use
well, so you can
paths,
give me a
whatever.
tune-up.
Hey, we'll do it. I'll
I don't
tune
want
up
to
your
pay a
bike,
hundred
and then we'll
bucks.
go for a ride.
That place in town, that Bay Area Bikes or whatever, the guy that bought it, they like prices skyrocketed, man. A tune-up's like
Wait,
$80 or something.
Bay Area got bought out,
Yeah, there's a
or
guy that
was
bought it.
or or was it the pedal that got bought out?
No, Bay Area in the shopping center right off SPID. That's Bay Area.
Really?
Yeah, there was I went in there when I was doing my radio, and the guy was gonna do ads, met the owner
Uh-huh.
and stuff, and he was changing a bunch of stuff, man. But Terry Shannon, who was my senior ad guy and brought me on there, he rides too.
Hmm.
When we walked out, he was like, Jesus Christ. He was like, the prices, he's like, they've all gone up like 50%.
Yeah.
And but maybe it wasn't sustainable before. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
don't know. But it was I don't know, yeah, like 80, $100 for a tune up, something like that. I don't know if that
That's
sounded steep. I don't know if that's
a
average.
hundred. I think it's $150 here for at
And it may be
the
around there, yeah.
sports shop down the road from my
And,
house.
and you're in bike heaven there, so maybe that's the average rate.
Yeah, $100, $150 is about average.
Speaking of, did you watch the Lance Armstrong 30 for 30 on ESPN? You don't watch
No.
TV, so I guess not. I'll try to remind you to watch it. It's pretty good. And I haven't even finished, but it's pretty good. It's very intimate. Um, it's all about his motivations. They interview him. He talks. He admits things. He's just like, yeah, I was under a lot of pressure, man, and blah blah blah. And so, I mean, how crazy is that? That guy had not just the city behind him, like everywhere, and he frauded it up.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've come in my age. I've come to this place where I don't give a shit. People are juicing. I say let them and make it even kill across the sport. You want to throw in some testosterone. You want to throw in some steroids. You want to do some HGH or whatever you can get your hands on. Because to me, dude, it sounds stupid or whatever, but to me, a performance enhancing drug for an athlete is the same thing as taking Motrin. It takes makes your body feel a little bit better, takes away some of the anti or the inflammation of your muscles and your joints. It's working the same thing. It's steroids is just like ibuprofen times 100, and
Yeah.
it's just helping your body recover. It's not making you necessarily stronger. I mean, your body's recovering. I used to ask my doctor in the army. I was like, why aren't you guys letting us take roids? Why aren't you guys injecting us with HGH? Things that make our body feel better and younger, Dude, I would have been like, load me up, man. Not so much the
So
steroids. I had friends that did it
what was his response? What was his explanation?
because it's dumb or something. It's like because the long term effects are horrible. But the HGH thing, though, where I guess you can rebuild. I also would wonder why the military is not more into stem cell replacement, like stem cell therapy. Because like for me now, I've arthritis in my ankle so bad when I get up in the morning I can barely walk. And dude, I'd take an injection in a heartbeat or stuff like that. Uh, it just there's plenty of things out there I think that are advantageous. I want to watch good sports, and sports to me is entertainment when you watch it. Like football, baseball, whatever. I don't like seeing a 40-year-old athlete out there who can barely fucking run. Put some steroids in his ass and he'll run faster, and we'll all be more entertained. That's what you're paying for. I'm not paying to see old Roger Clemens. I'm paying to see 43-year-old Roger Clemens who's still throwing 95 miles an hour, man, with reason. That wasn't suspect at all. I mean, he just like Lance, like ruined a guy's life, threatened him, all kinds of stuff, just so he would save face. And everyone in the room's like, bro, like it's kind of obvious, and he's like, I don't know this motherfucker. He's like, he has your DNA from like injecting your bubble. He's like, I don't know that guy. Barry Bonds is over here like, no, I never heard of him. They're like, we have your signature, like you signed in or whatever. And he's like, nah, I don't know. That was Barry Bohemian. I don't know that guy.
Very both.
He's somebody else. It was Larry Bonds. Like it's just, but to me, it's almost like I hate Alex Rodriguez, that baseball player, but he admitted to it. He owned up. He's like, oh yeah, I did it. I mean, he got caught and then he owned up, but he didn't try to lie. He just said
he didn't try to cover it up. Yeah,
they were paying that guy a lot of money to perform, and he didn't want to be inadequate. I get that.
Yeah.
It's the same to me. It's I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. And I think the way they threw Lance under the bus, because I think a lot of those riders, and that's part of it too, as they talk about a lot of those guys on like the Tour de France and whatever, they all start doing something to get to where they can get through that marathon. And he got
they're all on some sort of performance enhancer.
Yeah, and so like what's I just don't know what the big deal is, but I feel bad for him because his life got crushed from that, man.
He has a shared use path named after him now in Austin.
Yeah,
so I think he's reached the pinnacle of.
He's coming back.
Yeah. In fact, when you come up here with we'll tune it up. We'll go for a ride on the Brushy Creek Trail near my house, and then we can ride to the Lakeline stop for the Cat Metro Red Line commuter rail, ride the train to downtown with our bikes, get off in downtown, and ride the Lance Armstrong. So you can see beautiful downtown Austin as it should be seen from the bike on Lance Armstrong Bikeway, or as the locals call it, the LAB. We can ride the LAB.
Do you say Guadalupe or Guadalupe?
I say Guadalupe.
Been there long enough, man. All right, Anthony. It's been very good, my friend, and cousin. So thanks again for being the guinea pig guest. And
all my pleasure.
Yeah, that's cool. Dudes. Well, hopefully I'll have this up pretty soon, man. And you guys take care and avoid the COVIDs.
You do the same, man.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.